Me. Pretty fucking good. Hello and welcome to Bedtime with Katy. I'm Katy, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. I am a board-certified nurse practitioner practicing in sunny California. And in today's video, I am going to discuss with you the safety and the efficacy of using melatonin as a sleep aid. So let me just preface by stating that I actually gave melatonin a try for 1 whole week over the holidays. And I did so by not doing any medical research prior because I wanted my review to be completely unbiased. And looking back as I was doing the medical research and preparing for this particular video, I'm looking in hindsight that not knowing what I was exactly taking was extremely stupid and even foolish. If you're a little curious as to why I feel so stupid, stay tuned. I'm going to let you know right after this show reel. So, if you clicked on this video, it is fair to assume that you probably are dealing with issues with sleep. And you're now thinking about supplementing with melatonin. You probably had 1 or 2 friends or maybe even a coworker suggest that you try melatonin because it has worked for them. And now you're wondering, what exactly is melatonin and is it safe? Well, these are great questions that I hope I am able to answer for you. So melatonin is natural. It is a growth hormone that your body naturally produces. It's actually released by your pineal gland, which is in the central or middle aspect of your brain. And what happens is when the sun sets, melatonin levels begin to rise and be produced. So you probably notice on more than one occasion when you're just resting on your couch and watching TV around 9 or 10 p.m., you start to notice that you just are extremely tired. Maybe your eyes are a little droopy and heavy. Well, that's because melatonin levels are at the highest around 9 or 10 p.m. because it's getting your body ready to rest, to go to sleep. And so you can imagine that the opposite effects happens when the sun rises. Melatonin levels begin to decrease, so you start to feel a little bit more awake, a little bit more alert, so you could conquer the rest of your day. So how do you exactly get more melatonin? Because there are some variables where melatonin production begins to decrease, such as age, or if you're a cancer patient, possibly even the chemotherapy can affect your melatonin production over time. So there's only really 2 ways of getting more melatonin, and that's the natural way or the synthetic way. And I say natural with a grain of salt because the only real way of getting it naturally is through other animals. Specifically, they go into the brain tissue of cows. And if you remember from the early 2000s, there was an issue with mad cow disease. And yes, there is a possibility of transmitting the mad cow disease over to you through these natural melatonin supplements. Not to mention that some of these supplements can be contaminated with environmental toxins like arsenic. Fun stuff. So let's take a look at synthetics. Exactly what does that mean? Well, apparently synthetic melatonin supplements are actually under the classification of dietary supplements. And so they do not require the approval of the US Food and Drug Administration, or also known as the FDA. Since dietary supplements do not require FDA approval, there are no strict regulations for its production or manufacturing or sales. In other words, what you often find is not exactly what's marketed on the product label. There were actual studies that showed that what was marketed and on the product label wasn't in fact what was found in the tablet itself. So you're believing that you're taking 3 milligrams of melatonin or even 5 milligrams of melatonin, but that may not be the case. A lot of the times there's a lot of different fillers and some of them aren't even listed in the ingredients on the label itself. scary stuff, right? And in this study, they actually compiled 31 different brands of melatonin in grocery stores and in pharmacies. And what they found was that 26% of them actually had levels of serotonin. Now, serotonin is a great hormone that can actually cause you to have more energy and wakefulness, but it can have harmful effects even at low levels. And there's such a thing called serotonin syndrome. And what happens is if you get too much serotonin in your bloodstream, you could actually have side effects of diarrhea, muscle rigidity, and heaven forbid, even breakthrough seizures. So, in terms of synthetics versus natural, I don't really know if the pros outweigh the cons, especially since also the medical research that I looked at didn't really support the long-term use of it. They couldn't find strong enough evidence stating that using melatonin supplements improve somebody's ability to fall asleep as well as stay asleep. So if you're still crazy enough where you are determined to try melatonin because that friend or that coworker absolutely swears by it, then you're gonna need to know the therapeutic index. How many milligrams do you need to take for it to be effective? Well, unanimously, researchers and doctors recommend taking between 0.1 milligrams to 3 milligrams. And as a medical provider, I always recommend starting with the lowest dose, and if it doesn't work for you, start to move up a little bit. There is no real indication to try anything more beyond 3 milligrams, even though you're gonna find on the market 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, or even 20 milligrams. And oftentimes, research has shown that even just the slightest amount, like 0.1 to 3 milligrams, can enhance melatonin levels within your bloodstream by 20%. So you can only imagine how much 5 milligrams or even 10 milligrams of melatonin will do. And the problem with having too much melatonin is that it will cause daytime drowsiness. It's going to mess up with your wake cycle. And you might even get headaches, nausea, and vomiting. All of those side effects, which I actually experienced for myself when I took 3 milligrams on day 1. And if you want to see my vlog, you'll see that I actually had to cut the pills in half because 3 milligrams was just too much for me. So I absolutely have to stress the importance that if you're in this group of people, that you should definitely consult your healthcare provider before even thinking about starting melatonin. If you're breastfeeding or if you're pregnant, the possibility of any toxins found in these supplements can be passed through your breast milk or onto your fetus. If you are on any medications like blood thinners, medications for epilepsy, diabetes, or even hypertension, you may want to consult with your healthcare provider because it has been shown that melatonin can cross-react with these medications. A lot of the times it will lower the thresholds of seizures, and people with epilepsy will have more breakthrough seizures. Melatonin can even increase your blood sugar levels if you're a diabetic, and it can even increase your blood pressure if you have hypertension. Lastly, if you're a parent and you're thinking about giving this to your child because you thought that melatonin is natural, I'm going to reiterate that natural does not necessarily mean safe. There has not been significant evidence indicating whether or not the long-term use of melatonin is safe for children. Now, there is a possibility that it's safe if you use it for a short amount of time, but in terms of long-term use, we really don't know. There's not enough research out there. And because melatonin is a hormone, there is a possibility that it can affect the child's hormonal development. In other words, it could affect their puberty as well as their menstrual cycles. So it goes without saying that always consult with a healthcare provider before starting any new regimen to your daily routine, whether it's marketed as a vitamin or as a dietary supplement. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, hit the like button so I know that you would like to see similar videos like this in the future. And while you're there, you might as well hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on new content, which I will be releasing every first Friday of the month. And as well, don't ever be a stranger. I would love to hear from you. Please leave me a comment below, especially on what you would like me to try next and possibly review for you. Until next time, I bid you farewell, sweet dreams, and namaste.